Thank you. Good evening, everybody. I'm going to call the school board meeting to order at 7:01. Can I please get a roll call vote?
Yep.
Roll call, sorry.
Yeah.
Not vote.
Jack Sapia.
Yep.
Don Woodward.
Yep.
Katie Newsom.
Here.
Cheryl Wood.
Here.
Donna Manson.
Here.
Kim McCormick.
Here.
Ray Woodworth. Paula Kane.
Here.
And Alyssa Crawford.
She's excused. She's excused. All right, if everyone can stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. First thing on the agenda is student, staff, and family share. Who do we have with us tonight, sir?
It is my pleasure to introduce Mr. John Baccarezza, the high school principal. He is going to introduce the high school presentation tonight. We have some students with us who are participating with Dr. Bill Preble on his work over with the Center for School Climate and Learning at the high school. They are examining student and staff and family data. And from that data analysis, they are making measurable goals for school improvement. Mr. Baccarezza.
Welcome, everybody.
Hello.
Hi.
Good evening, everybody. It's my pleasure to get to introduce members of the School Culture and Climate Committee. These students have been doing work with Dr. Bill Preble for the past, now a year, and they'll be continuing doing the work for this year. They've really been involved in looking at ways that student voice and choice can be involved into Timberlane Regional High School, and also giving people opportunities to feel valued and to kind of shape what their education is going to be like. So I'm going to let them take over and run the show.
Hi, I'm Juju. I'm a senior at Timberlane right now.
Hi, I'm Luke Swanee. I'm a junior. I'm Brayden Cardone. I'm a senior.
And we're some of your representatives for school climate and culture. So big on the school voice for students, but we also like to voice opinions from the teachers and parents because we find it's a household and a community. So a community isn't just the students, it's the teachers who take in the students for the day and treat them as their own. So I thought this was important. What does Timberlane mean to us? We're each gonna go through and just share some things. Timberlane means a lot to me. I've had many great opportunities throughout my career at Timberlane. I've been in theater, I do science Olympiad, I do all these other things, and we find it very important to grab people from different groups. So it's not like, oh, student voice, it's only the kids that do student council, or it's only the kids from theater that do it. We like to have a diverse group of many different kids from different organizations.
What I really love about Timberlane is how many different organizations and clubs, sports programs, theater programs, music programs there are. I feel like everyone has a place that they can go to. Even people who feel a little scared or nervous to step out can usually find a place and people where they feel like they belong in.
I like how some of the teachers are really care a lot about their students and want to help them reach their own goals and stuff.
Oh. Dean.
Fast learner there.
That speaks to the community that you can lean on when you're, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, just
Nope.
You need a battery?
Actually, it looks like it's on.
Oh, she said that she said that before too.
I know. I work for the tech department over the summer.
Oh.
Yet another example.
Awesome. There we go.
Okay, our mission. So these are our top 3 projects right now. We're working on student-teacher relations, school discipline, and school safety. So we found these topics because we sent out a survey to parents, teachers, and students. And the results that we gathered was that on these 3 topics, everyone agreed that we needed to work on them. Students felt as though student to student, the relations weren't good, student to teacher, the relations weren't good, and that they want to build bonds with students and teachers, and have the teachers know a little bit more about their students rather than just face value, you're my student. We like to build a connection through them. So we've been going to classrooms and talking to teachers about it. School discipline, many kids and parents at Timberlane have expressed how they feel the disciplinary system isn't what it should be. And so we've done from, a punishment?
It's from retributive justice to restorative justice.
Mhm.
So instead of focusing on punishing and trying to bring people who have maybe had issues in their home lives and are acting out down and making them feel bad, to bring them up and trying to give them ways that are more like cooperative
Mhm.
to their emotional health, other people around them's health and safety.
So instead of like a punishment program, it's more of a rehabilitation program for the students, because we found that just punishing the students, taking something away, that they don't really learn their lesson. But if you were to take the students and put them through the program, all right, you're punished, you get this, and then restore the students and build them up to be the student you want them to be, would work better. And several studies that we found have shown that this is a great way to run a school. And then safety is the teachers and students have expressed that they have concerns about safety with everything that's been going on. But after we talked to several students and several staff members, we felt that now that we're implementing the ALICE drills and everything like that, it has evolved, and once we get more used to it, we'll feel more comfortable with it. Next slide, please. So here are some projects that we've done, and we have some future plans. So we have a social media page to get through messages to our students and the community. We find that social media is a big way to connect with everyone in this day and age. We like to keep the community updated of what we're doing. We like to involve the community. So when we did the class meetings, we had a video explaining to the students who we were, and then we had a form for them to fill out to say what they might want to see change in Timberlane. And we really are big on that point that everyone needs to be involved in what we need to do in Timberlane. We have also done team bonding and leadership workshops. So we've gone to staff meetings and worked with the teachers. We've also gone into classrooms and just played team bonding games, getting to know each other games, because even halfway through the year, those games are still important because people tend to stick to the groups that they've always migrated with. And so we like to expand people's point of views of others. And we've helped in Mental Health Awareness Week. We have a game center. You helped out with that last year.
So we ran a couple different activities. I think the main big one we did was the game of Duck Duck Goose. It was a giant game of Duck Duck Goose on the football field. It was a really fun opportunity because, as Juju said before, people really like to stick with their group that they've known forever, which obviously makes sense. You have your friends. But people miss out on so much socializing with people that they didn't know they would really, really love to be with. I felt that a lot this year with some of my classes. I get to meet with people that I've never talked to before and people who I've expected to not really get along with, but I've really enjoyed working with. So I think we are really working on getting people together that they wouldn't expect to get along with.
Mm-hmm. And so we're also open to any suggestions that parents, teachers, students may have in what could grow Timberlane as projects. Any questions for us?
I just have to say, thank you for coming down. You all were very well spoken, very well. What on the safety aspect of thing, is there anything else that you all are seeing other than just getting used to the ALICE stuff that's coming up that you feel that you're hearing concerns about, or would make you all more successful or feel safer?
One issue that we've been kind of bringing up a bit in our meetings is the issue of bathroom safety with the drugs and that type of problem, fighting, that type of stuff in the bathrooms, where people don't feel comfortable going to the bathroom for their intended use. That's something I've personally struggled with, where I don't feel comfortable a lot of the time going to use the bathroom. It's one of those things where it's like,
Yeah, it's become more of a recreational spot rather than I have to go, guys.
yeah. So
Yeah. And yeah, the Alice, I think just the exposure today, a lot of kids were getting used to it because we had our first one today. And I guess it's just the more we get exposed, we'll get more serious about it. But right now it's in the phase where everyone's up in the air and unsure because it's such a hard topic to grapple. And I think it's just struggling with the fact that it's sad that we have to talk about stuff like that in school. But other than that, kids seem to be very receptive to the change.
Anybody else have any questions for them? Yep, Shauna.
So a lot of this conversation about safety is related to that physical safety piece of it, but I noticed on the slide there was some talk about like emotional safety too. So is the committee have ideas on how to support, you know, for example, you guys experienced training today. There's a lot of feelings that can be connected to that. So is your committee looking at ways to help provide that sort of emotional safety support too?
I would believe so, yes. Our biggest thing is community. So we like to have the other kids in our class understand that we have the resources at Timberlane and building relationships with the counselors, with the teachers, to get them to understand that they can go to the teachers if they have problems or if they're scared, because there's a lot of nervousness because you're like, oh, that's my teacher, they grade my papers, instead of, oh, they're my teacher, but in a way, there's somebody I can reach out to. If I don't have anybody at home, I can reach out to a teacher. And we're really trying to build that bond. So that's why it all circles back into the teacher-student relations, because we want them closer and we want them to be able to confide in their teachers.
Can I ask a follow-up question?
Yeah, go ahead, Shauna.
Can all of you share a teacher that you feel like you can go to? Luke, I'm gonna call you out.
One teacher I feel like I can really bring like my emotions and my thoughts to is Mr. Castano. I heard some giggles. He's well known for being a really great guy. That kids really feel comfortable bringing really anything up with. So yeah.
Well, also Mr. Castano, but I'll provide a different teacher. But I really like confiding in Mrs. Stevens, the teacher who runs School Climate. She is just an amazing person to talk to. She's always there with a smile on her face, happy, like telling you how like you walked in, you look so great, like one of those teachers. And it's just really nice to know that we have that support in the school who's always there for anybody, no matter who they are.
How about you, Brayden?
Mr. Corelli, I've never felt like as heard or cared about by like anybody like compared to him. He really just cares wholeheartedly about everybody.
That's awesome. I'm so glad. Thank you for sharing that with all of us.
Anybody else? All right. Thank you so much, guys. It was really a pleasure to hear you guys speak tonight. Give them a minute to clear out and we'll move on to the next topic. You do like the stopwatch thing.
Yep. Want to do that, 3 minutes.
Make sure it hasn't changed. All right. First up for delegates and individuals is going to be Carol Hillard. Good evening, ma'am. I'm Carol Hillard. I live in Danville, New Hampshire. I've spoken to you guys before. And of course, a lot of us here are here tonight for the $17 million surplus. Basically, what I'm gonna say is we want our money back and we want it back now. People are losing their homes, and I don't understand what is going on with the school board that they're not understanding that the voters in this district are struggling. People are losing their houses. It's terrible. John Downing was at a previous meeting, came up with a great suggestion of using $3 million from this year's budget to pay the lease payment instead of taking some of it from the surplus before and having a special meeting. We would like you to do this. Momentum is growing in this group. The Timberlane Tax Impact Group, people from Plastow and Atkinson are joining, the 2 smaller towns of Danville and Sandown.
And we're just tired of the never-ending increasing budget year after year after year. I think a forensic audit is needed for this school system. You have lost our trust, and I am not speaking just for me. Many people feel this way. There's board member Jack, he comments and he reads what people are writing, but I don't know if any of the rest of you belong to the group, but it would be eye-opening if you did. Something is very wrong. $17 million. If you were in the private sector, you would have been fired for such a crazy, outrageous, outlandish amount of money. We are struggling. People are losing their houses. And you represent us. We are your bosses, not the SAU, not the business partners out there that you did business with. We, the voters, we are the boss. And we are watching you, and we're not gonna stop. You have lost our trust.
Next is Marianne Springer. Good evening, ma'am.
Hello, thank you. I'm back. Good evening. At a prior meeting, I thanked the school board and the administration for thoughtful discussion of the approximately $16 million fiscal year 23 surplus and the explanation for retaining approximately $3.5 million in order to pay down the lease, thereby saving approximately $1.4 million in interest over the life of the lease. I now regret that statement. I believe that the district is certainly financially capable of making the early lease payment without using that $3.5 million in retained surplus funds from fiscal year 23. Even if half of the components of the huge surplus were one-time only unanticipated events, that would still leave somewhere around $10 million in excess funds being available within this year's budget. I arrived at that number using half of the fiscal year 23 surplus of $8 million, plus the roughly $2 million difference between the fiscal year 24 and fiscal year 25 budgets. It's difficult speaking to the unassigned fund balance action agenda item tonight without knowing what will be presented. Has there already been a truly diligent comparison of the fiscal year 25 budget to the actual expenditures and revenues for fiscal year 24? If, as previously, a large surplus is again likely in the current fiscal year, the lease should be paid down now to reduce interest, but do not use the $3.5 million that was retained by the school board and return those funds to the taxpayers. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. If I butcher your last name, I am so sorry. Jackie Belacqua?
Yep.
Right. Thank you, ma'am.
Jackie Belacqua, Danville. My child's currently in a 5th grade class of 25 students. While I understand district policy states 5th grade classrooms should not exceed 25 students, I feel that this number is too large for an elementary school. Danville has 4 to 5 more students in both 5th grade classrooms than any other elementary school in the district right now. I feel that this puts our children at a disadvantage in a crucial year before they enter middle school. At the end of the 23-24 school year, the 4th grade class had the amount of students that would warrant a 5th grade teacher or a 3rd 5th grade teacher. This position was posted on the district website. As a parent who advocated for smaller classes, I felt my concerns had been heard and that we would be getting a 3rd classroom to better meet the needs of our kids. In August, enrollment dropped to 50 students and the board made the decision based on district policy that Danville no longer required the 3rd classroom for 5th grade. It's disappointing that this decision was made based simply on a number that fits a policy versus student learning needs in the classroom. It feels as if the board made this decision without thinking what would be best for these students and what's the right thing to do for these kids. It was explained that there would be extra adults and supports in the classroom since there are so many students. Danville's put in an incredible amount of work to make this possible. With this extra support of adults, I can only imagine that up to 30 people in a classroom must feel cramped and overwhelming. Trying to physically navigate around a space, get a question answered, or utilize a calming corner must be incredibly hard for these kids. Thinking with my special educator lens, about accommodations, a quiet space to work, preferential seating near the teacher or the board. Pre-teaching skills, frequent check-ins, and flexible seating must be difficult as well. It's clear that the staff at Danville are being asked to step up and help out. I appreciate their effort and willingness. At a recent meeting, we were told about support-trained paraprofessionals, ELA and math coaches, as well as UA teachers who will be utilized in classrooms. However, I think about this planning and organizing of staff, as well as the time it took for administrators to find solutions to this concern would not have been necessary had there been 3 classrooms. Teachers build classroom communities and relationships with their class for the year. They put in work to plan instruction and plan lessons for their students. It's a lot of effort and work, but now they're asked to be doing more to plan lessons for others who are going to take their small groups of students, to find additional time to connect with these adults regularly on how their students are doing. And when a parent receives a report card, the teachers may be relying on someone else's information for certain parts of our kids' day. It seems that the decision did not take into account all of these factors. It feels like our kids are just enrollment numbers on a piece of paper. So I'm asking for a motion to be made to waive policy for this year and revisit and revise the district class size policy, not just for this specific situation in Danville, but for future students and classes in Timberlane. Thank you.
Thank you. Kelly Dives. Hi, ma'am.
My name's Kelly Diver, and I live in Danville, and I have 2 kids back there. I'm not gonna be too loud. Usually if I'm gonna speak in front of a bunch of people, I actually have something written down, but I'm just gonna have to go from the heart. We moved here, this will be our 2nd winter. We moved in October, and when we first moved to our house, we found out that what they had said, there was an issue with our fireplace. I know this is gonna sound really crazy, but there was an issue with the fireplace. We were told it was fine, and we were gonna be planning on using the fireplace to help heat our house. Well, that didn't work out, and we ended up paying $600 every 3 weeks for oil the entire winter last year, and I had the thermostat turned all the way down, put the kids in winter gear, sometimes to sleep. We were planning on putting in an insert. We were planning on rebuilding the chimney and doing all the stuff that was necessary. However, we got our escrow bill and it was short $3,000. That $3,000 would have paid for our stove and our chimney. I'm a little concerned now because I don't want to go through another winter putting my kids in the snowsuits to go to sleep. So I just want you guys to really think about your decisions that you're making and how they affect people, because this is not okay, and it really makes me question how you're budgeting and how you're making these decisions. So anyways, thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Denise Jecker. Good evening, ma'am.
I'm here tonight because mostly my fellow citizens asked me to be here and to speak, and I have some cards. And I'll just real brief because I don't know if you listen or not, or if you care or not. That's up for debate. Maybe not amongst all of you, but let's say fellow citizens care. And that word fellow means shared interest and experience. And we've had COVID and economic crisis, and everybody says we're all in this together. We may be in the same storm, but we're not in the same boat. The lady at the grocery store who's 88 years old, and you walk through and you'll see 4 or 5 anywhere that can only, they're searching for 2 or 3 items they can afford. Okay? Do you care? Do you even care? Let's get to the 17 million. On the agenda, it says unassigned funds. Unassigned funds, they were assigned. There were projects. The money was allocated. Unassigned means not allocated. So we're just gonna say, oops. Let's do something else with the money. Well, if those projects were so urgent, so important, how come they're not done? It's not found money. It's already spent money that apparently wasn't needed because nobody missed it. So how are we to trust you going forward? Okay, I'm not gonna say malfeasance. That brings it to a whole, but at best, it's misfeasance, negligence even, on all of your parts. We are the people. You're supposed to be part of us. It's not supposed to be this way. It's not supposed to be adversarial. And it is because you told that gentleman not to put out more chairs. That's just plain rude. You have people that need to sit, that have medical issues. Then one gentleman went to get his own chair and he was told in the hallway, you can't take that chair. Is that how you want people to see you? Your trust is blown. Why should we give you one more penny? I've lived here 35 years. My house is on the market. I can't keep up with the taxes. Do you care? Because if you do, number one, you'll give account. First, hold yourselves to account for that money. Why didn't you know it was missing? A forensic accountant should be brought in. And you should be willing to say, we made a mistake.
Your time, ma'am. Thank you. Can I get a motion to move the rest of the 18 minutes of delegates individuals to the end of the meeting, please? So moved. Can I get a second?
Second?
Motion made by Shauna, seconded by Mark. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Abstained. All right. Next is approval of minutes. We do have some non-public. We're gonna do the public ones first. Yeah. Except we're gonna do the public ones first.
Which ones do you want first?
Let's do the public ones first.
I move that we accept the minutes from the September 5 board meeting.
I have a motion by Dawn to accept the September 5th meeting minutes as written. Do I have a second? Second by Shauna? Kim, so sorry. Any discussion about these minutes?
Yes, I just wanna, I'm
Go ahead,
gonna
Joan.
let, oh my goodness, God.
Linda.
Linda, no, about, there's a misspelling of a name from somebody from public comment. So it's Hannah Dangus, not Dargus, if you can change that.
What page? Oh, yeah.
Page 2,
Page 2.
DANGAS.
Fifth
I
paragraph.
was reading the handwriting, so I must have cut
It's
it.
okay.
I'll make that change.
Thank you. That was all I had.
Any other comments about these meeting minutes? All right. Other than that one amendment, all those in favor? Oh, no. Opposed? And then abstain. 2 abstentions. Okay, and then you have the non-public in front of you.
Make a motion to approve the non-public dated September 5, 2024.
A motion, do you have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Kim. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed and abstained. 2 abstention. Yep, please pass this back. Is that all of them? Right. First item on the agenda is gonna be the unassigned fund balance. So board members, you'll remember that back in August, we were advised that we can keep up to 5% of the unassigned fund balance and that with that money, we could pay down the first payment of the lease for the first phase of the lease, which would save us about $1.4 million in interest. We voted to keep that, and then, it was also advised that we could possibly hold a special meeting to make sure that we were doing everything right and by the book. Went by legal to make sure that we could do everything that we were told that we could do. So I'm just gonna read what legal has stated. This is from Jim O'Shaughnessy, our legal counsel. RSA 198:4-B authorizes school boards to authorize the legislative body to allow its school board to retain up to 5% of year-end unassigned general funds each year and place those funds in a contingency fund. Those contingency funds can only be expended to meet the cost of unanticipated expenses that may arise during the year. RSA 198:4-B, subparagraph 2. Prior to its amendment in 2020, this law previously capped the contingency fund at 2.5% and limited the expenditure to emergencies. Under the current law, the school board is required to hold a public hearing prior to expending these contingency funds. The contingency fund statute neither authorizes nor requires a special meeting of the legislative body for expending funds. State law only authorizes a school board to hold a special meeting to raise or appropriate money in a few limited circumstances, such as when the legislator changes its adequacy funding. This has happened a few times in recent years, but it is otherwise relatively uncommon. For an emergency pursuant to a court order, and when at least 1/2 of the total number of voters of the school district vote in favor of the new expenditure. In sum, the law requires the school board to hold a public hearing to expend contingency funds, but those funds can only be used to cover the cost of unanticipated expenses. Because the lease payments are the antithesis of an unanticipated expense, the school board cannot use the contingency funds for that purpose. The law also does not authorize the school board to hold a special meeting unless as otherwise provided in other statutes. Presumably, it's unclear why the board voted twice on August 15th regarding the use of the contingency funds. Presumably, it was to clarify that it wanted to retain the 5% contingency for the purpose of paying off phase 1 of the lease. And they would only expend the funds after holding a special meeting to obtain voter approval of the expenditure. Nonetheless, those two votes were legally defective and the actions of the board be executed by the administration. So in short, because we budget $2 million to pay on that lease, we cannot use that money that we held to pay off the lease. And this board held that either it went back to the people or it was used for the lease. So I am going to suggest that because of that, and that's what this board has held true to since day one, that we amend what we did and we give all the money back.
I'm in full agreement.
Is there any discussion? Yes, Mark.
I agree with what you stated. It's unfortunate that we find ourselves in this position. However, I think we can maintain true to what we have stated for the past 4 or 5 months, that it was our intention to give back every dollar possible from that unassigned fund balance. Now we find ourselves in the position of not having the flexibility we thought we would have to prepay and prepay on the interest. As such, I think the only responsible thing is to return it in its entirety.
So this would all go back on and be seen reflected in the December tax bill, is what this would be. So if someone wants to make a motion to amend the contingency votes passed on August 15th, 2024, by reducing the contingency amount from 5% to 0%, and by striking all other language in these two motions, so that the new motion would be to retain 0% of the 2024 year-end unassigned general funds in accordance with the RSA 198:4-B, subparagraph 2.
So moved.
Motion moved by Kim
May I second that?
and seconded by Mark Sherwood. Any other discussion? Yes, Jack.
I'd just like to address, I know everyone on this board, and when I hear that we don't care, that's simply not true. Sapia family is struggling like everybody else in this room probably. So normally we don't do this. Normally we retain a certain amount, but I think under the current economic situation and under the pressures that we all have with our budget and with your budgets, this is the proper thing to do. So we kept our word. We're doing what we said we were gonna do from the very beginning. So that I just needed to say, you got a pretty good group of people up here and they care passionately. And I just felt I had to say that in light of giving this money back.
Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor? Opposed and abstained, all right? And Linda, do you want me to give you the? Next on the agenda is gonna be the grade 1 and 2 health curriculum. I think it meant curriculum.
Curriculum?
One thing,
Yes, Paul, go ahead.
just so I'm clear,
Hold on a second. If you guys are gonna talk, that's great, wonderful, but we just need to continue to be able to hold the meeting, okay? Thank you so much. Go ahead, Paul.
just the way we worded that motion, I just wanna make sure that we don't need to make another motion. Was that a motion to reconsider and overturn, and then we need a new motion?
No,
Or
that was it.
all
That was all
encapsulated?
it, and that was written by, approved by legal. Okay. Anything else? Okay, all right. Grade 1 and 2 health curriculum. Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So as we do, we're about 6 or 7 years in to the curriculum as it was written. So we conducted a K-12 committee over the summer and started to review some changes that we wanted to make to health. We looked at the progression of skill cues and topics in our health units, and this hopefully is an easy swap. We have taken a grade 1 unit and a grade 2 unit and swapped those grades. This is doable because our standards are grade spans. They are not assigned to a specific grade level. And so really we're just looking for approval of that switch.
Okay. Ma'am, are you okay?
Yep, I can't say, cause her sign's facing this way and that way, and I'm just
Okay.
taking down names.
Okay,
That's
so,
it, I'm taking down names.
no, so Jack Sapia?
I'm sorry, excuse me for one
So
second.
Jack Sapia, Donald Woodworth. Sorry, Sandra Lear,
Sorry, Justin,
Justin Krieger.
yep. I got it,
Katie
I got
Knudsen?
it, I'm not interrupting, I'm quiet, I'm on the side, I'm just writing. Yeah, but thank you for Yeah, I appreciate the, you know.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're more than welcome, dear. No, you're good.
Sorry for the interruptions.
Okay.
Kim, you know.
Kim McCormick, Bree Woodworth. And all of our names are actually on the school website as well.
I don't play on the computer.
Okay.
But I'll find it. I know you will, baby. Thank you so much.
Okay.
He's my brain trust.
Okay. So you're looking to,
So what you see in front of you is the new proposed assignment of grade levels, but it is just a direct swap between grade 1 and 2.
Shauna, do you have a question?
Just to clarify, so it looks like the evaluating criteria and the student learning objectives remain the same. You're just literally delivering it in a different order.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Simply put.
Any other questions? Yep, Bree?
It looks to me, just at a quick glance, that both competencies are the exact same. So I'm gonna be more competent in the next grade.
So we have several competencies in health and they are K-12 competencies. So you'll see those same competencies come up in multiple grades across that span between K-12. And that is purposefully done. What we work towards in the skills are different grade to grade.
Could I just, we have this at the high school level as well, so world languages, their competencies are identical, grade 6, 12. As Lucy said, the skills that are under that progress with regard to proficiency, and there were rubrics or look-fors at different grade levels that give more clarity around what competent looks at different grade levels or grade spans. But the competency itself is that overarching umbrella statement. The more detailed criteria would be coming from some of those other resources.
Any other questions? You look like you were wanting to.
I was gonna say, it took me 3 CNA meetings for them to finally get it through my head. All the columns work.
and the,
And now it actually makes sense to me, and I think it's brilliant the way you guys do it, but I at first I did the same. I'm just like, wow, they're all the same, don't they learn anything? But now, I didn't say that out loud in the meetings, by the way. Dawn helped me not say things.
Should you be seated next to Don again?
But anyway, yeah, so I agree with you at the beginning, and I see why that is when I was a layperson, but it now flows nicely for me.
I'll make a motion to accept the changes to the grade 1 and 2 health curriculum
For first read.
for first read.
That's what it says. Right, this is a first read, correct?
Yes.
Right? Okay. All right, motion made by Kim. Do I have a second? Second by Bree. Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor? Opposed and abstained. Okay, thank you.
Great job.
All right. Justin, I believe you're gonna start off,
I'll be
right?
happy to introduce this item.
Okay.
At the last meeting, the board entertained a conversation and a discussion item and other business around grade 5 enrollment at Danville and class size. Since that time, over the course of 2 weeks, many board members have engaged with administration seeking additional information. That information took its form in the form of academic performance of that cohort. We also were able to share out with the board behavioral student data from that cohort as well. We have met with families that have expressed concerns at an administrative function, including district and building administration. We've also engaged with folks over the phone and through via email as well. There's a small executive summary in your packet tonight that was prepared by Sandy. It really clearly states that we're right at policy right now, and there's the instructional plan that we've also communicated to the board and the families about how we plan to implement instructional opportunities for students with the current resources that are allocated at Danville. The last piece of data that we shared with the board was historical enrollment at Danville, but also future and prospective enrollment through NASDAQ and what we expect to see in terms of any growth or shrinking of those class sizes moving forward. We really feel as an administrative group that the board has enough information to make an informed decision tonight. And we would encourage you to enter into another discussion, considering all of the information that's been shared over the last 2 weeks, and come to a point tonight where we can have some resolution about how we're going to be moving forward at this school, in this grade level, and with these families.
Open the floor. Bree?
I wasn't at the last meeting when this opened up, so thank you. Again, I look for kind of equity across all district, and as it was brought up in the discussion earlier, this one class is significantly above all other classes, and we have allocated another teacher when we didn't have to in another circumstance. We are having parents concerned about their children's experience, and where I do feel admin has done a fabulous job and the teachers are doing a fabulous job, I would advise that why not look for that FTE, repurpose a position, put it in place for elementary education, get at least the process going. If we need it, it's there, we're ready. If we don't need it and it's working out and the students are achieving and doing great, then we don't have to fill it. And also with the large number of classes coming up and moving forward, we may need that extra elementary ed teacher in the future budget. And if we have the room now, I would like to see that being utilized. It's not just about academic benchmarks, which this makes it look great, well done 5th grade. It's also about social and emotional learning. And as we said, a 30 cramped class is difficult for anyone. I also discussed, I know we went over class sizes very significantly. I was part of that committee, and we lowered it from 26 to 25. So it is within policy. And then I asked about middle school, because we need to prepare them for that big shift into they will be in a 30-person potential classroom, and how significant that transition can be when it's already a unique situation of different community members, new kids, new teachers, new setting, all of that happening. and they weren't necessarily at that high of a level either. And so I would like to, again, at least try.
Jim? If we were to ask for a full-time teacher, where would that money come from? Where would that person come from?
We would take a dive into the open and vacant positions and see what is available that we would be able to repurpose, and we'd come back with a recommendation for you.
So realistically, if this board votes tonight, because that's the question in front of us, do we authorize for them to find a position for this fifth grade class or do we not? So if we authorize to find another position and we want to have a third fifth grade at Danville, what is the actual realistic time frame of actually finding somebody, then restructuring all three of those classes to go? Like, what is the realistic to that?
Sandy can certainly speak to that too. My number one thing I would say to that is the timeline will be dictated on the quality of candidate. I think we would do ourselves a disservice if we're just bringing in somebody to supervise a classroom. We're really looking for the instructional and the social emotional learning that's going to happen there. Our first priority is going to get a high quality candidate to put in front of students. And I can't tell you how long that would take.
Yeah. Go ahead, you and then Jack and Dawn, sorry.
Just to the second question that you posed about the reality of organizing that and making that happen. So Mr. Snyder and his team had already, in the potential that this would go this way, they had prepared 3 potential class lists for 3 classrooms. And when they prepare class lists, they look at making sure that there is a representative range of students to best meet the needs of those students. So it's not just randomly pulling a certain numbers from the 2 classrooms and redistributing. So they spend some time looking at the needs of the individual students and placing them appropriately. So they have those class lists ready to go.
So that piece is done, it's
That
just
piece
how
is
long.
done, yes.
Jack?
So that was one of the points I was gonna make, that, you know, it would be specific to students that would be more amiable to the transition as opposed to some that kind of wanna stay.
It is, so I wanna be very clear, the class lists that were prepared are not based on parents who are willing to have their child moved. It is based on looking at the profile of the student
Right.
from a well-rounded
Yep.
lens to make sure that as they are dividing up class lists, they're doing in a way that's going to best meet the needs of those students.
And I think when we talked about class and get in the corner. When last year we had this conversation about maximum class size, and I asked the question, does 1 or 2 students really make a difference? And there were so many variables with that. The classes are so different from year to year. I think one of the responses was it was really about the capability of the instructor. So there's a whole bunch of different components here. As I read this, and please correct me if I'm wrong, seems like the students are doing their profession and they're doing well. Am I misreading that on this?
That's an accurate statement, based on the data points that we shared
Well, from the end of 4th.
from the end of
Right.
4th grade, yes.
I struggle with this a little bit, but I think we have a bunch of parents that do not feel comfortable. I think we have, if we give these students relief, it can only get better. So my question is, do we have the room there to do this?
There's space, there
Okay.
is space.
And we currently do we or do we not have someone, sounds like we don't have anyone quite yet to fill that position. Do we have a grade school teacher that could step in at this point?
Currently, Jack, right now, we don't have a position to fill.
Fair enough. But if we did have that, if we created that position.
We would post the position and we would
Okay,
actively.
so we go
hire.
through the process, okay.
They don't have somebody who's willingly like, oh yeah, they identified it and then, yes, tomorrow we'll
So
do this.
I don't necessarily. I'm really torn on this because I can see some of the crucial things why we should do this. On the other hand, I see, I look at the math, I hate to say it, but we just lost a whole bunch of people out the door that probably wouldn't feel this way, but ultimately, this is about educating children. And that's, we kind of tell you guys a story later on, but this is what we're here to do. And if we can improve that environment for those 50 kids, then I think we should do it. Not to mention, you'd be giving the teachers and the parents are, like the 3 high school students that were in here, right? Parents, community, students. So I think I'm leaning in favor of putting in the extra class.
I think it comes down to the suitability of the hire. You have to have somebody who can do a good job with kids who can walk into this type of a situation, be faced with a unique challenge and be successful over the course of time. I do know, I've spent some time with that 5th grade class. They went to their field day over at Adventure Lore, helped out with that program that day. Their themes were empathy, working together, cooperation. The teachers were there, the para was there, giving the kids a lot of support. The kids were having a great day. They seemed like a really great group of kids. That doesn't mean we shouldn't give them another teacher, but the teacher was saying, kids are doing well. I've got parents who are concerned that they might not be able to keep the teacher that they're already off to a good start with. I mean, there's a lot of things that you're hearing that are all ringing true, not necessarily the same for everybody, but I think we have an opportunity to look. We should be willing to do that. We have to be stubborn about quality. It's not a warm body situation. You want to have somebody who is going to be that we would believe would be successful, in giving the kids a great education and a great environment.
Kim, Bree, and then Jack. Oh, did you have something? Let Mark go first, because he's not made a comment yet. So Mark and then the order.
So I thank you for the data that was, that you got. At the last meeting, I had spoken, and my interpretation of the policy being, maximum class size of 25 is kind of like the speed limit. Max is 70 miles an hour. There are certain situations where 70 miles an hour is not safe. And, if it's raining out, the max should be 55. Okay, it doesn't mean that it's optimum to always drive 70. My concern had been for the students in this particular cohort. The information provided, if I'm reading this correctly, is that Danville student, the current 5th grade class, has the highest percentage of students. They scored higher both in math and in reading, and they also have the lowest percentage of identified students. So those are the 2 criteria. We are here to educate students, to educate our community. My concern with the larger class size had been that they weren't getting the benefit and they were being disenfranchised. However, if they are scoring higher in math and in reading than the other cohorts around the district, I'm not certain all the parents are aware that their children, by the standardized test score, which certainly is limited, but they are doing better than their cohorts in other schools in this current environment. So we need to consider that. And if we do find the appropriate, speaking to Justin's point, teacher at this point, we have to be selective with that. What are the implications of taking a third, duck, duck, goose, a third of every kid and putting into a new classroom? And what about the parents who are comfortable with the teacher that they have now having their children, quote, ripped away from this teacher and their classmates to be in another classroom 3 months down the road? That might be more detrimental to them, both academically and socially, than being in a larger class size where academically, at least, they're doing better than their peers.
Kim, Bree. Paul, did you want to speak?
No.
Okay.
I had a question about the
God, I wish I was
plan,
Paul.
that you guys talked about that, Mr. Snyder has put in place to manage what is the 50 to 25 in each classroom. So, it says that grade 5 instruction and practice delivered and supported by a range of professionals and paraprofessionals, and they're utilizing space between the classroom and other rooms that are close by. So is that implying that all 25 kids and 5 paras and teacher are not always in the same classroom at the same time?
During different moments of the day. So the teachers worked collaboratively with the leadership in that building to look at the day, the schedule across the day, right? So there are times for core instruction and core math instruction, math block,
language arts block, and then there's a personalization block where intervention, enrichment, sometimes students who require pull-out services might be pulled during that time. So students are already grouped according to different data points based on their needs in those different content areas, and might be working even across both classrooms in different smaller cohorts with different staff members. So during that time, it could be that a small group may be working in the PLC room. There might be another group that could potentially be using a space in the library. But so it's during those times that we have that flexibility. The teachers are also working collaboratively to think about fluidly grouping students during the core blocks and sharing students. And then the paraeducators are pushing in intervention at times as well to that one core space. But they're trying to be as flexible with regard to location and staff across all 50 students right now.
Can I just follow up real quick?
Yep.
I'm sorry, Bree. Just one quick thing. This has been a tough one for me too, because I see both sides of this, and but something Mark has said is really resonated with me, just because, and we did the really hard work in curriculum and assessment and talking about classroom sizes and what would be optimal for our learning environments. And we implemented that this year, and I think we did a great thing. But just because 25 is the maximum class size doesn't necessarily mean that that's the right class size. So for me to look at it through the lens, all the hard work we did, which was an incredible amount of work, I didn't look at it through that lens before now. So max class size does not necessarily mean that it's optimal. And we've been asked in the past to waive policy for an additional student to be put into a classroom to, go over policy, but we've never been asked to waive policy, obviously, because to split up the ones that we have. So that is something that's weighing heavily on me. But something that Dawn said too is very tricky. What about the kids that don't want to leave their teacher, that have been there for the 3 months and they don't want to be split out of that classroom? They want to just stay with the teacher that they started with. And in this scenario, if we move to split that group, then those students don't have that choice, and those parents don't have that choice. So those are a few things I just wanted the board to consider, that just to make it a little bit more difficult for you to make a decision. I just wanted to add.
That was actually my question. Would parents be able to decline a classroom change?
If we get to a point where the board creates or repurposes resources and we advertise and we hire a quality individual, through that process, I think we would need to be talking all through with our admin group at the building level as well, how we would go through that. I can't answer that for you right now.
So an observation and a question. My observation is, during my children's tenure at Timberlane, they lost teachers all the time. Maternity leave, family issues, illnesses, halfway through the year. So this isn't something new that children haven't had to deal with, and they adjust just fine. And it, as Justin said, it really comes down to the quality of the people that we have. And that's even from the teachers whose class those children may be leaving, right? Help them make that adjustment. A question that I do have is, we know that each class has a certain amount of support mechanisms. So would we need additional support mechanisms for this new classroom that we were creating?
No, they would be dispersed across 3 classrooms.
That was simple.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you, Jack.
I don't believe so.
I cut Bree off, so I'm gonna let her. Are you sure? Okay, Dawn?
I know the kids will be going to middle school next year, and they're gonna be going through a different type of day. If we did find somebody who was qualified, and we wanted to try to avoid any threat of upsetting kids because they were losing a teacher they were attached to, there are other ways to teach those kids with 3 teachers, to give them more circulation among those teachers, work to those teachers' strengths, and actually provide them a very thrilling way of going about business. You know, you don't have to remove them totally from any teacher. You could have 2/3 of their day be with those same teacher. You know, you could take a subject or two that you would almost have specialists where people's strengths could be used to give those kids the best possible environment for learning. So I'd say if you're creative with it, you have more opportunities with another teacher regardless. You don't have to do the extreme change.
I'm gonna
Go ahead, Jack.
make a motion to direct the superintendent to create that additional position to explore what our opportunities would be. I just, after listening to Dawn, that seems like a real potential solution,
Yes, so.
right? Which kind of answers a lot of our questions or concerns, I should say.
So the thing before us tonight is that we have to make a decision one way or the other. If either we're gonna motion to approve them to find a third teacher.
That's what I thought I just did.
You were saying to explore.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, then.
Yeah, they have to have direction.
And just because you create it, I mean, we could find out.
No.
No, I know.
Yeah,
I
the
know,
motion,
yeah.
the decision the
We don't-
board has
well-
to make tonight is either yes, we
Well,
want them to do the
I'll make
three.
the motion to create it.
We've got a motion by Jack to create a third.
I think the motion would be to direct the administration to repurpose.
An empty unfilled position, thank you, Mr.
Existing
Superintendent.
additional resources to generate another elementary full-time 1.0 position.
I second.
Alright, motion made by Jack, Bree seconded. Just for me, for discussion wise, is that, you know, I get it that there's a lot to consider besides just a number, that kids and students are not just a number, but looking at that though, is that across the district, how many classes do we have that are right at the max that we have?
Policy says I don't have that, I can get that for you, but at other grade levels, we have classes that are close to.
But I'm talking about at.
I can try to look right now, quickly.
One, because, you know, the district, our policy, it doesn't state anything in it on like, what are those parameters? So that's another thing, because we need measurable parameters, so it's not just, oh, well, just because. So I think that's one thing that we have to consider is fair across the entire district, not just for one specific class. Like I said, I understand what's going on with this class. The other thing for me is that the school year has already started. There's a good chance it could be next week, or it could be after Christmas, January, before we get a teacher for this classroom. And I get that classes have lost teachers before, but you're talking about completely rearranging classroom dynamics and kids where they've already got friend groups and they've already got a routine going. So my concern is that we're too far into the year and they've been dealing with this. So I would suggest that if we end up doing this, or regardless if we don't end up doing this, that this policy goes back to policy committee and we see if maybe we can put some other measurable metrics in there. Cause like what Mark stated, maybe, yeah, that's the speed limit, but you don't go it. But what are those other limiting factors that help them guide them? Because we set policy and they implement it. So I think if we do it for this one or we don't, that policy, it should go back. And we need to put those measurable things in there to make it fair across district.
You should look at it.
Yeah. Bree, did you have something you wanted to state?
I had looked at some of the data, and this class of Danville has been the largest class pretty much every year.
We across, based on August data, it could have slightly adjusted
Right.
since August enrollments. One other grade in one building across multiple sections as a cohort, they are not at, but in one of the classrooms they are, but not all, if that makes sense.
Okay. All right, well, a motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor? Opposed and abstained. All right, motion passes. Okay. Next is the lead remediation grant. Justin, are you speaking to this as well?
Yes, I am gonna speak to it. Small executive summary in your packets. There is simply really kind of simply straightforward. There's a grant money available for the district to get to remediate some of the lead and get the lead out of the schools. So we're looking for authorization, one, to receive that money, and then I believe also authorization for Dr. Martin to be a signer or signature on it.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions? Yeah, Bree, go ahead.
Just more of a statement. I've been concerned about the lead in Danville for a while now. In fact, I just saw a no drinking in the gym bathroom where it's perfect water bottle height for those little kids, and the sign isn't even on the forward facing, but that's okay. So I'm very excited if we are getting the lead out.
So you're making that motion?
No pun intended.
So I am making the motion to accept and expend the grant funds from the Drinking Water and Groundwater Trust Fund and enter into a grant agreement with the New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services, nominating Chris Martin to have the authority to sign the New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services grant documents on behalf of the Timberlane Regional School Board.
Very well said.
I will second that.
Motion made by Bree, seconded by Kim. Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor? Opposed? Abstained. All right. Next is the oil bids.
Yeah, we have a bid recommendation for you. The facilities team went out for sealed proposals for fuel oil, looking at the upcoming oil and heating seasons. We received 4 proposals. They're outlined there in front of you in terms of the cost per unit and then what we would estimate what the total cost would be. There is the company that is Hilton Oil Company, certainly came in at the lowest bid by a far margin, and that is our recommendation to the board, is to move forward with that vendor.
With Hilton Oil.
Correct.
So moved.
So,
And I just, sometimes we do it that way, sometimes we don't, if you want us.
yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's to enter into with the Hilton Oil. Okay. Yep. Motion made by Jack. Any seconded by Mark? Any other discussion? Okay. All those in favor? Opposed and abstained. Okay. Easy peasy. And again, the Hilton Oil rate is $2.58, which the next one closest to it was $2.69. All right, next we have policies. Actually, we got a first read, I believe. Is that right, Shauna?
Yeah, I'm actually gonna defer to Sandy
Yeah,
on this because
absolutely.
she worked with Dr. Martin on this.
Okay, absolutely.
Sure. So you have in front of you for a first read, policy, sorry, just scanning for the coding. EBCH, which is on hazardous chemical safety provisions and the hygiene plan. So this is a policy that is new for us. It went to policy committee at our last meeting. It was moved forward here. We did a first and second read. This is recommended again by legal and has been vetted through. So we're bringing it to you for a first read to take a look at.
And this is policy EBCH, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Hazardous chemical safety provisions and hygiene plan.
A mouthful. Any questions on this policy? All right.
Make a motion to accept policy EBCH for a first read.
Second that.
Made by Shauna, seconded by Jack. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Opposed and abstained. And then this is just a notice of revocation that the board will be revoking policy ACAC, which is Title IX Sexual Harassment Policy and Grievances Processes. And that's because last meeting we voted in to adopt the new language for the other policies. So this policy is really just obsolete, correct, Sandy? Did I say that right?
Correct.
Okay. All right. So that's all that has to be done with that. Right. And policies, just because we just talked about with the Danville grade 5. I really want to make sure that policy committee takes the numbers policy to bring that back. I don't know if that needs to go to that group specifically or go back to the group or that looked at that, but
I have notes.
Yep.
okay, so that way we can have some measurable other things to put in that. Okay. Next is the annual meeting and election calendar. So that's just some updates. Let's see. I believe January 26th is the public hearing on proposed budget and the bonds. The other one is February 6th, which is a Thursday. You have deliberative session 1, which will be at the Performing Arts Center at 7:00. The snow date as of now is February the 7th. Other than that, and then district voting will be on March 11th. Anybody have any comments about the calendar? Justin, do you have anything to add?
Nothing to add. Those are the important dates.
Those are the important dates. Okay. Administrator's report? Yeah, administrator's report.
You got the budget committee calendar?
Do I? Oh, yeah, sorry. Budget committee presentation calendar. So sorry.
It's also just informational for the board in terms of mapping out what will happen at budget committees, including the building tours that will be going on, and when we have mapped out when individual departments and directors will be presenting their pieces of the budget.
And our first budget committee meeting is the 26th, next week, isn't it?
Next Thursday, the 26th.
Any questions about this information, guys? All right. Now, administrator report. That was too
Awesome.
quick.
Couple of good things to share tonight. We are going to welcome Abigail Robinson as the high school student rep to the board. She's going to join us next meeting and was nominated and voted on by her peers. So welcome Abigail to the team. We'll look forward to working with you. I think both Mark and Katie will be reaching out to Abigail to kind of set up that kind of structure for her. There was a busy day in athletics today. We had 8 teams competing, both home and away. Here at home, I was able to walk out and watch a little soccer and some football. It's really cool to hear the sights and sounds out there. There's dogs running around and there's families out there with their chairs watching their kids, and there's yelling and cheering for goals and touchdown scores. So really good stuff. And also a great opportunity to again recognize Angelo Fantasia and the athletic department. They've won their 5th Excellence Award, and it's really highlighted sportsmanship. It's the 5th time in a row. And really, this is awarded to the entire school. It includes the athletes and the coaches. And it is for folks that have not received one disqualification over the entire course of the year. So really want to recognize Angelo in terms of pressing out, working with dignity and pride through those athletic competitions. It's high charge, it's fuel, it's highly competitive. So to keep composure through that and not take those next things to the emotional side and then be recognized as an entire school is something to be really proud of. Wanted to give a quick update from Dr. Martin, who's not able to join us this evening. There was some questions about coming back to the board with some facility staffing history and numbers. I'm going to do that now for you. Looking over the last 5 years here in Timberlane, we have added 2.0 FTE maintenance positions. These are skilled positions. We've also added a half-time accounts payable clerk to work within the facilities department. Currently, right now, we are down 1 maintenance person who is on leave from the district, and it's really been a challenge with us to keep up with that type of work. What we like to do is for Dr. Martin to continue to assess the impact of the lease and the construction projects across the district on the facilities department, and she would like to bring back a more robust report for the board in October.
Point of clarification, the 1 person we're down on maintenance, is that included with the 2 additional headcount over the past 5 years? So if we had 6 5 years ago, now we have 7, but we're down 1, or so do we have 8?
We've added a net gain of 2 over the last 5 years. Right now, we just don't have somebody working in one of those positions.
So net gain, in actual gain of 1 with 1 vacancy.
A budgetary gain of 2.
Understood.
A real person gain of 1 right now.
Yeah.
Really looking forward to filling that next one. Also, sticking with a lot of high school stuff, the high school also received a robotics education development program grant. They have over $5,000 to expand student participation in robotics and engineering. So I'm looking forward to visiting that club this year as well. Also want to recognize Maura Mayer over at the high school. They had their college fair this week. And just listen to some of these numbers. Juniors and seniors participated. They had 70 colleges and universities attend. There was the U.S. branches of the military. They also had trade schools. There were discussions around admission requirements to these schools, their programming, financial aid, and scholarships. So it was an awesome event. It provided a ton of access and real-time information for our kids. And really wanted to recognize Maura and the entire high school team for providing those opportunities. It's a great day at the high school over there. Couple of small dates coming up. We are partnering or allowing the fire departments to use the Learning Center at Sandown Central. They're gonna be doing that on November 16th. So wanted to make the board and the community aware of that, but they're partnering with other fire departments. They're gonna use our facility as a training facility. So we're really happy that we're able to support that programming and training and welcoming them into the buildings. The other thing we're gonna do, the retirement committee is gonna move the retirement party that was scheduled for the fall, and it's gonna move to May. So May 7th will be that new date, and we're gonna honor 2 series of retirees there, folks from last year, and also the people that we'll be putting in retirement for this year. And I would close with reminding everybody that the open houses for elementary schools start next week. Monday night, I think we're kicking off in Danville. We're really excited to partner with the budget committee and to have interactive tours for anyone in our communities, including parents and families that want to come and attend. That QR code will allow people to look at photos of buildings and read some descriptions in terms of the capital improvements that have been made, but also areas of the building that need to continue to be worked on. That's all I have tonight.
All right. We do have 2 personnel reports that we need to read, but then also in other business, but I'm just gonna move it to the regular agenda, is that Fran does have one thing for a title change, but we're gonna go ahead and do the personnel reports. So I believe Fran, personnel report just needs to be read into this first one just needs to be read into the record, correct?
Yes, the one from, is it from,
September 9th?
Yes.
Okay.
Make a motion to accept.
Nope, it just has to be read into the record.
Oh, okay. I'd like to read into the record the professional nomination of Lindsay Rabbit, special education teacher, TLC.
Okay, and now you make a motion for this one.
I make a motion to accept the professional resignation of Carl Inglesby.
Facilities director. Motion.
Facilities director.
Motion made by Shauna. Do I have a second?
You do,
Seconded by Mark.
please.
All those in favor? Opposed and abstained. All right. And then
Job posting report. We're just calling it vacancy anymore.
Yes, ma'am.
As you can see, it's very small. We're really thrilled. It's probably the smallest one since I've been here that we have. Again, most of them are special ed and that we're struggling to fill, and we still have just the 0.6 French teacher. So we've done a great job. The administrators did a great job getting all the positions filled this year. So very handsome.
Jack and then Bree.
I'd like to thank you because we've struggled with this for a very long time, and the focus between you and the administration. Justin, thank you for getting this done.
No, you're welcome.
It's been sitting out there, and I think you guys made an exceptional effort here, so thank you.
That was a lot of help.
Bree?
I just wanted to clarify the Sandown North nurse position. Does that mean there's no nurse at Sandown North or the?
We might be using a sub nurse. I know we might be using some sub nurses. Actually, Ginger's next door. She might be able to answer that better than I can answer that. But I know we had somebody in there that was kind of as a sub that was doing I think 4 days a week. And then we had another a nurse that just retired that came back to the sub. So we're still recruiting for it, but we can't have a school without a nurse in it. So that's kind of how they're covering that. Yeah.
There's a float position in the district
There is a
for
float
nurses as
position in the
well for
district as well,
coverage too.
right.
So
Yeah,
I'm
there
sure
is.
they're
Yes,
pulling.
there is. Thank you.
Anything else on the job posting report? Okay. All right.
She must have heard me call her.
Do we need to do anything with this title change?
Yes, that's the next thing I was gonna go to.
Sorry.
So you have an executive summary in front of you. Fran, did you wanna speak to the executive summary of the title change?
Actually, basically, it was basically a position that had always been a special ed position. I'm not really sure why it got changed to a kindergarten position back in, I think in 2017. But we filled it with special ed teachers in it. So we just really want to clarify that it should be a special ed position, not a kindergarten teacher position. And so we just need to change the title in our HR payroll system so that it's clear.
Seems pretty straightforward. So we'll make a motion to change the position at Sandown Central from kindergarten teacher to special education teacher.
So moved.
Motion made by Bree. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Shauna. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed and abstained. Thank you, Fran.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. Committee reports. I'll start with Mr. Sapia.
Yes, we had a CIP committee meeting this week. One of the things we discussed was the difference, what constitutes a maintenance versus a capital improvement. That has been an ongoing point of discussion for like 25 years since I've gotten involved, and there were some fine lines there. some hairs to be split. We did move forward, actually, we did push back some of the projects that were slated for next year. And we have asked for some additional information to explore some of the things that are proposed. So I think all in all, it was a good meeting, a productive meeting. God, I'm getting tired. So anyways, that's where we stand. We're getting ready for budget season to make a recommendation, and I'm sure we'll be ready in time.
Pass.
Okay. I just have budget committee again. We're starting next week on Thursday is gonna be our first one, and then also those open houses. We really welcome the public to come and look at our buildings. Safety committee is gonna meet next week. It's got a really good packed agenda. Looking forward to meeting with everybody on that. Other than that, that's all I have.
Directly before this meeting, the ad hoc, looking at kindergarten, met a lot of good information regarding the potential increased needs going from half day to full day, et cetera. We have felt the need to get more community input to get their way in to see, what the support level would be before we move forward. And so, Justin, you are going to be approached. We are thinking about having another QR code. Perhaps the open houses will be having Ken try to look at this to scan another one so we capture our constituents, capture the parents that are going in to these open houses to let them know that this is something that we are discussing and we need community input to help give us direction. But what a great opportunity for that. I know that you were also going to be reaching out to, we were going to be reaching out to the Board of Selectmen, try to get the word out through our individual towns that way.
Shauna?
Policy committee is scheduled to meet in October, and also wellness committee is scheduled to meet in October too for the first time this year. And I just want to mention, I had the opportunity to be at the PAC on Saturday for the Timberlane High School Chorus Camp that was run. I know that was a really big goal of the music department to sort of reinvigorate and bring that opportunity to the kids. They were there on Saturday from 9 to 2:30. There was a lot of team building and getting to know you. The freshmen actually had an opportunity to go on Friday night too, just as a cohort to learn, about the high school chorus opportunity. And it was absolutely amazing. Those kids were engaged literally for 5.5 hours on a Saturday where they had to wake up and come to school, my kid included. And it was really cool. And I'm just really grateful for those opportunities for our kids in this district. So thank you for those that were involved in planning that.
Kim? Nothing. Bree?
Strategic plan met today, and it's just really great to see all the work that's being done in that strategic plan document and how we're all incorporating into that goal that we set. Some of the key points is the universal design for learning, which has been rolling out progressively throughout all the schools, and also the initiation of a new tier platform for support for our students. So we have some good things coming down.
Awesome. Paul?
I'm also I know.
Is there any other business? Okay. Linda, do we have one? Mr. Downing?
I don't have to introduce myself anymore. I am John Downing, I'm from Sandown. Good evening, everybody. Well, it's a bittersweet night to be here. Thank you for all of you for hearing the will of the taxpayers regarding the unassigned fund balance. It's a very big thing. Thank you for returning the funds as pledged by all of you. I appreciate it, and many others do too. With that said, knowing that the $2.1 million already raised for the payment for this fiscal year is still available, plus the additional adequacy aid of nearly $1 million, the lease payment can still be paid in full with another incredibly huge vote right now. The district can still save the $1.4 million in interest without any issue at all. Why am I here? Why am I so involved? If there was a human in this room who was not moved by hearing Kelly speak tonight, I still am. Those are the reasons I'm still here. Those are the reasons I'm still involved like I am. And I'm here respectfully to relay that to you, the stories that I have heard on the other side. That's one of many. And that's why I'm here and involved and as moved as I am tonight. That is an incredible hardship felt by so many seniors I've talked to. Same stories, different people. And it's just important to realize as humans here, I know we're here to educate the students, and that is our goal also. But we can do both. We can educate the students and have a responsible budget. We don't have to be at wit's ends with each other. You guys are heading in the right direction. There's been a lot of positive, and I'd like to see that continue. And I know that some of you have been reaching out, you're willing to talk, and it's appreciated, and we can get to where we need to be so we're all working together for the same cause and educate the kids to the best of the ability. So, thank you.
We do need to go into non-public. Shauna?
Make a motion to go into non-public under 91-A:3 subparagraph C.
A motion to have a second? Second by Mark. We get a roll call vote?
Oh, yes. Jack Sapia?
Yes.
John Woodward? Katie Newsom?
Yes.
Mark Sherwood?
Yes.
John Manthorn?
Yes.
Kim McCormick?
Yes.
Fate Woodward? And Paula King.
Yes.
All right, we will not be back other than to seal the minutes. Everybody have a good evening and.